and how their interests collide or align is essential to understanding how Uganda's political landscape is evolving. But this vote is about more than personalities. The stakes are high for citizens concerned about stability, reform, economic opportunity, and political freedoms. The outcome will affect policy choices, regional relations, and public trust in democratic institutions. Examine what's at risk for voters, political actors, and the country as a whole. Finally, as the results begin to emerge, one critical question dominates public conversation: how are votes counted, verified, and declared? From polling stations to tally centers, we unpack the process designed to ensure credibility or spark controversy. This is Uganda Votes, the key players, the stakes, and how the results are varied. And on JKS does this right here on EBN TV with me, Jeffrey Kimaiyu Somba. Ugandans went to the polls on January 15, 2026, in one of the most closely watched elections in the country's history. The center of the contest is a familiar face, President Yoweri Museveni, Africa's fourth longest-serving leader and his most prominent challenger, opposition leader and former pop star Bobi Wine. This election is widely seen not just as a vote for leadership, but as a broader test of Uganda's democratic space. After decades of rule by a single president and repeated allegations of electoral repression, we look at the political context of President Museveni, now 81 years old, has ruled Uganda since 1986. Constitutional changes under his leadership removed both term limits and age limits, allowing him to seek what is effectively a seventh term in office. Uganda has never experienced a peaceful transfer of presidential power since independence, which has made this election particularly sensitive both domestically and internationally. And roughly 21.6 million registered voters were eligible to cast ballots. The main presidential candidates were Yoweri Museveni, National Resistance Movement, this is NRM. Museveni campaigned on a message of continuity and stability, presenting himself as the guarantor of peace after decades of conflict in Uganda's past. His platform focuses on economic growth and infrastructure development, poverty reduction, and agricultural modernization, which are oil production as a driver of national revenue, maintaining security and order. Supporters credit him with stability and development, particularly in rural areas. Critics accuse his government of authoritarianism, shrinking political freedoms, and using state institutions to maintain power. Bobi Wine, who is Robert Chagulani, National Unity Platform (NUP). Bobi Wine, aged 43, represents a generational and political challenge to Museveni's rule. A former pop musician turned lawmaker, he draws strong support from urban voters and younger Ugandans, many of whom face unemployment and economic hardships. His platform emphasizes on restoring democratic freedoms and human rights, fighting corruption and abuse of power, creating jobs for young people, reducing military involvement in civilian politics throughout the campaign. Wine and supporters reported raids, rally disruptions, and violence by security forces. Yes, repeatedly urged supporters to protect the vote by closely monitoring results at polling stations. Other presidential candidates, with several additional candidates, were also on the ballot, though none were expected to seriously challenge the two front runners. We've got Mugisha Muntu, this is ANT, focused on institutional reform, disciplined governance, and rebuilding public trust. If Nandala Mafaba, FDC, campaigned on economic reform and fiscal responsibility. Robert Kazibande, NWP, emphasized rural development and vocational training. Elton Mabirizi, Conservative Party, promoted faith-based and traditional values. We've got Mubarak Munyangwa, Common Man's Party, positioned himself as a grassroots representative of ordinary citizens. Frank Belira Kabinga, RPP, advocated federalism and decentralization. While these candidates contributed to national debate, the election was overwhelmingly framed as a Museveni versus Bobi Wine contest. Election day conditions and voting took place under heavy security, especially in Kampala and other urban centers. Soldiers and police were widely deployed, a move the government said was intended to prevent unrest. A nationwide internet shutdown was imposed ahead of polling day, officially to curb disinformation, and opposition groups and civil society organizations criticized the move, arguing it limited transparency and independent monitoring. Some polling stations opened late due to logistical issues, including delayed materials and malfunctioning biometric systems. Despite these challenges, voting proceeded across much of the country. Election results and verified in Uganda. Understanding how results are counted is central to understanding controversy surrounding Uganda elections. We're moving to step one. We're counting at the polling station. Once voting ends, ballots are counted at each polling station, not elsewhere. This count happens in front of Electoral Commission officials, party agents, observers, and security officers. Results are recorded on an official document called a declaration result. This is DR form. And step 2, declaration of results forms. Each DR form, the votes received by every candidate at a specific polling station, but the agents receive copies. One copy is posted publicly in the station. These forms are made to serve as the primary safeguard against later manipulation of positions. Parties often photograph and compile these forms independently to track totals. Step 3, tallying the results. Results are then physically transported through multiple levels. We've got sub-county tally centers, district tally centers. Finally, the National Tally Center in Kampala, Uganda, relies largely on manual transmission, which can slow the process and create opportunities for disputes. Step 4, role of the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission of Uganda is constitutionally responsible for compiling and announcing results. It is expected to declare provisional presidential results within 48 hours, though delays can occur. The Commission insists it operates independently, but critics point out that its leadership is appointed by President, raising questions about impartiality. And step 5 of the same is legal challenges. And if a candidate disputes the outcome, they can file a petition with the Supreme Court of Uganda within 10 days of the official declaration. The court has 30 days to rule. Past courts have acknowledged irregularities in previous elections but have never overturned a presidential result. What to watch next? As results are announced, attention will focus on whether polling station results match national tallies and now opposition parties and supporters respond whether legal challenges or protests emerge, now regional and international observers assess the process. And for many in Uganda, this election is about more than who wins. It's about whether the country's electoral system can deliver credible, transparent outcome amid long-standing political tensions. Key highlights since morning, and we're looking at page 1 of what has been happening since morning. And this morning, voters across the country were set to cast the ballot in presidential and parliamentary elections. But what was meant to be a smooth start was anything but ordinary. Polling stations were scheduled to open at 7 a.m., yet in many areas, including the capital, Kampala, voters stood in long queues hours after the official opening time, with ballot materials and biometric voter verification machines failing to arrive or malfunctioning. And at the heart of this disruption is a nationwide internet shutdown that took effect 2 days before voting began. The Uganda Communications Commission ordered mobile network operators and service providers to suspend public internet access starting Tuesday evening. The official justification was to curb misinformation and unrest, but rights groups and international observers warned that cutting communications about transparency and free flow of information. Throughout the morning, tension grew as citizens, some already queuing at dawn, were left without official updates on digital communication. The internet blackout affected not only social media but also mobile money services and basic data access, amplifying confusion and frustration. Midday events and security environment. As the day progressed, voters and election officials described a tense and even voting environment in multiple regions from Kampala to Jinja, Kabale, Rulu, and Masaka. Officials struggled to activate biometric voter verification kits, and in many stations, machines simply did not work, forcing poll workers to resort to manual checks against printed registers to ensure that citizens could still vote. And for some voters, the wait stretched into hours. At one Kampala station, a local legislator reported queuing for more than 3 hours just to access the ballot box. Opposition leaders and parties raised concerns that delays are disproportionately affecting opposition-leaning areas, with some officials describing the situation as deliberate. Such allegations added to the political tension already surrounding these elections. Heavy security was visible in major towns throughout the day. Police and military forces stood guard at polling centers, and in some instances, voters reported heightened intimidation by uniformed officers, a dynamic that critics argue dampens civic participation. Civil society organizations and human rights advocates have noted broader constraints leading up to today's vote, including the suspension of NGOs and monitoring groups that normally oversee elections, a move that further narrowed independent oversight. And we're looking at opposition claims and political tension. And as voting continued, political tensions escalated. Opposition presidential candidate Robert Chagulanyi Sendamu, popularly known as Bobby Wine, made repeated claims of ballot issues and alleged fraud. He cited malfunctioning biometric machines, delayed polling materials, and the absence of communication channels as evidence that voters were being frustrated or disenfranchised. These allegations mirror broader pre-election concerns about irregularities in Uganda voter register, with civic groups pointing to duplicate entries, deceased persons on rolls, and or exclusions of thousands of eligible voters. Critics say such problems undermine confidence in the process before a single vote is counted. The ruling party's supporters and officials argue that technical glitches cannot be labeled systemic fraud and have defended the Electoral Commission's decision to continue voting using manual registers while machines failed. Meanwhile, in dismissing claims of unrest, government authorities and security agencies maintain that measures taken, including the internet shutdown and increased security, were necessary to protect peace and stability during this sensitive period. Closing of polls and expectations ahead. By late afternoon, polls across Uganda officially closed at 4 p.m., though in some remote areas voting continues slightly later due to delayed start. Despite the logistical challenges, election officials pressed ahead to ensure every registered voter could participate. As of this hour, no official results have been released. Uganda's Electoral Commission has reiterated that only it may announce verified figures and that results may take up to 48 hours to compile and declare, a timeline shaped by the manual tallying required when biometric systems fail. Domestic and international observers warn that the combinations of internet shutdowns, polling delays, and limited civic oversight poses a serious question about the perceived credibility of the vote, whether the results will be accepted by all parties and populations. This is Uganda Votes, the key players, the stakes, and how the votes are verified. This is Kimaiyu Somba coming up next, the bulletin on JKS Thursdays. Just joining us right now, this is JKS Thursdays on EBN TV. You can join this conversation through our social media platforms, that is EBN TV Kenya, and our SMS line is 23059. My name is Kimaiyu Somba. Helping us on the sign language interpretation is Laura Omondi, and this is how we're beginning the bulletin tonight. The Principal Secretary for Education, Julius Bitok, has announced that the government will extend the reporting of grade 10 learners to ensure no child is locked out. Speaking at the last boys' high school where they assessed admission process, Professor Bitok urged parents seeking transfers to take their children to the schools they've been called to, adding that the selection process was done in a transparent manner and took into consideration learners' needs. The ministry has also pledged to engage the Teachers Service Commission to hire more teachers for technical subjects like woodwork, committing to ensure all pathways are fully provided for. The admission rate for C1 schools countrywide is at 91% so far, with the lower clusters reporting dismal reporting.
We are confident, and we know that the numbers are growing slowly, but we are confident that by tomorrow these numbers will be up. We are confident that by the end of this process all the students will have been placed successfully. Our expectation is that we shall have 100% transition, because we have enough spaces in grade 10 senior school to take all the learners.
President William Ruto has defended the Nyota project, through which the government has been disbursing funds to the youth, terming it the key to unlock limitless potential among the country's youthful populace. Speaking at the Machakos Stadium as he presided over the 6th edition of the disbursement of the business support funds to 1,500 youth drawn from Kitui, Makueni and Machakos counties, Ruto yet again lashed out at Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka for opposing a project that he believes will drive the youth out of the unemployment crisis. He at the same time reiterated his resolve to catapult the country to Singapore status, even as his deputy Kithure Kindiki branded those opposed to country's development as enemies of the state.
People of Kenya are not voting machines. They also want to know, how are they going to change their status? How are they going to make progress? What is the plan for them to improve their lives, to grow their jobs, to have revenue, to be able to progress? The challenge we have had is a challenge of leadership. Mtu tu anataka kupigiwa makofi. He has no plan, he has no idea, he has no agenda, he has no program, he has no vision.
Ile bottom up ya 2022 ndio hii. Ile pesa mfukoni ya 2022 ndio hii. Na hii ndio bottom up economic transformation agenda ambayo itapeleka Kenya mbele mpaka ikuwe first world economy.
Kiambu Governor Kimaiyu has suffered yet another setback after the High Court issued orders freezing bank accounts belonging to him, his wife, and his children. The court orders also extend to accounts held by 10 other individuals in connection with the separate 813 million corruption case. The freeze follows an application by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission (EACC), which is investigating allegations of corruption and unexplained wealth linked to funds in question. The orders will remain in force pending the hearing and determination of EACC's application. This comes a day after his multi-million property sitting at the railway land near Nyayo Stadium was demolished.
Estimating that per week, from the reports that
The Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry (KNCCI) has announced the opening of its Dubai office as part of a new trade solution aimed at addressing up to 90% of challenges faced by Kenyan exporters. According to KNCCI President Dr. Eric Ruto, Kenyan traders have been losing over 6.7 billion shillings annually in trade-related deals, an issue that necessitated the opening of Dubai offices to mitigate against such through the verification of trade partners.
Estimating that per week, from the reports that we receive, we are losing approximately 3 containers of fresh produce. That comes to a total of around 150 containers in a year. And if you are to look at an average of 5 million Kenyan shillings, you can be able to calculate in terms of invoice value. Yes, in terms of meat exports, approximately 20 to 25% are not paid. That's approximately 6 billion. So we are in the range of around 7 billion in terms of what we are losing. So that is what we want to address. And most likely that is what has happened to the 3,000 exporters who they are in our portal, but currently they are dormant, they are not active in terms of exports and international trade.
And also good news in education. Dozens of pupils at Laromoru Primary School in Baringo South are now forced to learn under trees after the Kenya Forest Service KFS demolished the school over claims that it is sitting within the protected Mukutani forest. The move has sparked outrage and concern among residents who say destruction of the school will deny hundreds of learners conducive learning environment. Teachers report that students are struggling to learn in harsh conditions, facing 8,000 livestock disruptions.
Endelea tu kufundisha bila madawati, bila vitabu, hiyo challenges zote nje ya darasa chini ya miti, na tukashangaa kwa nini shule kabomolewa wakati wa Kenya, watoto wa Kenya wengine wanaendelea kusoma bila matatizo yoyote. Na mbona serikali hawaongei kwamba nini litafanyika baada ya hii? Walimu ambako wako hapa waendelee kufundisha ama wafanye namna gani? Wanafunzi pia hatujapata ripoti yote kwamba waende wapi ama wafanywe nini.
Kufunza nje ni ngumu sana. Mwezi huu ni mwezi ambao jua ni kali. Kuna a lot of disturbance. Kuna wanyama wanapita kando, watu. So concentration is very low. Psychologically they are tortured because they are finding that their class is not there. So they start questioning.
Nilisoma hapa nikafikisha, nilienda mpaka class 2. Hiyo maneno ikakuwa imetokea, mimi nikatoka, na hiyo nilinifanya mimi hata mimi mwenyewe sikupata mambo za shule. Tukakuwa tunahama, hakuna hata mahali pa kuishi, tunaishi msituni, mimi nikakosa kwenda shule.
Education leaders and stakeholders have called on security officers to strengthen raids against illegal alcohol and drug near schools in Murang'a County. The warning comes as such activities continue to pose a major threat to well-being and development of students, particularly in the Kenal area.
Nilisikia mambo ya scholarship, nikapigiwa simu, nikasema Mungu basi amesaidia huyu mtoto. Sasa tukakuja Luda Primary, tumekaa tukaanzia ile siku alianza kunini. mambo ya scholarship hapo ndio primary. Nangana tu na mtoto kila siku mpaka kiwango mtoto anasema asipoenda kwa shule afadhali ni nyonge niende nifuate baba yake, kwa sababu hakuna haja ni kuone vile unateseka. Anajaribu kusama na kujimana kila kitu, na kata hata mama marafiki.
Tunalia sana, hatulali usingisi. Kila siku tunaamka ludo mixed. Kila siku tunaamka ludo mixed. Tumeshindwa palipa kwenda. Tulikuwa tunaomba sana saidia hiyo namba yenye imebaki. Isirudi tu hivyo ikiwa blank.
Kwa nini mtu anaweza nyimwa nafasi ili hali amequalify ku hiyo points Kenya wamempea? Hiyo maneno si mzuri kabisa.
Mtoto kupelekwa private school si ya kwamba mtu alikuwa anajiweza, ni mtu tu alimsaidia. So mimi ninaomba iangaziwe na iangaliwe zaidi.
And more than 200 students expected to join Britain in Turkana County have been denied education sponsorship, prompting them to protest at the county education offices in Lodwar. They complained that despite presenting themselves and going through the necessary verification process at the offices, they were still denied the funding. Speaking to journalists in Lodwar, parents of children with disabilities and orphans said that despite having children with special needs, they were deprived of the opportunity to access the scholarship. The Kenya government, through the Education Scholarship Program, had allocated 500 slots for students in Turkana who scored 45 marks and above. But parents argue that the threshold is too high, leaving many students unable to secure sponsorship. Security officers have been called upon to intensify raids against illegal alcohol and drug trade near education institutions in Murang'a County. The appeal was made by education leaders and stakeholders, highlighting that such activities pose a serious threat to the well-being and development of students, particularly in the Keno area, Murang'a. Sorry for the repeat of the news item. Patients faced major disruptions after Transmara West Hospital in Kilgoris was suddenly closed following an invasion by health workers in the early hours of Wednesday, leaving hospital staff and injured patients stranded. And according to some hospital officials who wished to remain anonymous, armed intruders entered the hospital at night with a patient involved in an accident, sparking chaos after the patient was advised to seek treatment at another facility.
Nilikuwa naleta mtoto, nilikuwa nakuja kutibu hapa hospitali, na nakuja kukuta hospitali nimefunga. Sijui sasa ataipeleka wapi mtoto saa hii.
Nilikuwa nimevunjika mguu, sasa nilikuwa nimekuja x-ray na nimepata hospitali imefungwa. Sasa hata tukikuja hatupati madawa. Unaambiwa ndo nunue nje, wanakuandikia na kuambia ndo nunue.
Nimetoka Lolgorian. Nilikuwa nimetumwa scanning. Kwa sasa nimepata hospitali wamefunga. Sasa sijui usaidizi tutatoa wapi. Na ni hapa tu ndio tunategemea ndio nini ya serikali.
The Global Cathedral Churches has issued a call for peace and political calm as campaigns ahead of the general elections intensify across the country. The church announced the preparation for a national prayer event scheduled for January 25th at the KICC Auditorium, emphasizing its role in praying for the nation, especially during heightened political tensions. Speaking during the preparations, Bishop Moses Turele urged the government to strengthen democracy and ensure politics aligns with peace. He also called on politicians from all parties to avoid defensive or divisive rhetoric that could split the nation or threaten its unity.
Maombi Kuanza mwaka wetu na maombi, Mungu atatubariki, atabariki watoto wetu, atabariki wazee wetu, atabariki wa mama wetu, atabariki nchi yetu, kwa sababu hata president na wafanyikazi wote wa serikali, wa judiciary, hata na wapi wote wanakuja ili tukaweze kuanza mwaka na maombi, ndiposa Mungu wetu akaweze kutubariki tukiendelea mbele na kazi.
A prayer service that is coming on the 25th of January 2026 at KICC. This prayer is to pray for this nation. This nation needs a prayer. Prayer has a special place in the nation of Kenya because there are things that this nation is facing that would be only solved by prayer. So I want political players, specifically those who are looking for elective position or those who are looking to undo each other. We want to ask them to be peaceful in their campaign, not to use.
Thank you for watching JKS Thursdays, and that story brings us to a short commercial break. We're coming back. Remember, you're watching JKS Thursdays. Residents from Elsa Village, Kajiado County, staged protest against the transfer of John Bosco Salie, the head teacher of Elsa Secondary School, citing his contributions to improving academics and leadership at the institution. The residents who have children enrolled at the school opposed the decision by the Teachers Service Commission (TSC) to transfer the head teacher without consulting the school's board of management or other key stakeholders. He also blamed the Isiolo TSC office for making the decision in favoring a single individual without proper authorization or justification.
Hata kisa na mahana ni kwamba matokeo ya 2025 KCSE results zilitoka na tumefanya maajabu katika mtihani. Watoto wetu wamepita wote, tuko na miniscore ya 5.4 na badala sisi tuserebulate ni kama tunalia kwa sababu tumestukia kwamba mwalimu wetu mkuu Bwana Bosco Ekale ametolewa, amepigwa transfer.
Ekale alipoingia kama principal alikuta miniscore yetu iko chini, tulikuwa 2.8 na sasa ameiondoa kutoka 2.8 ametufikisha 5.4.
Wanafunzi ambaye hata amefanya mtihani hii mwaka ni wangu, mmoja ni wangu na wamepita. Sasa wakati tulisikia kwamba Ekale amepigwa transfer, tulishikwa na butwa tukiwa wazazi. Asa sisi kina.
And politically, leaders of the ODM party from Busia County have reaffirmed that ODM remains strong as formal talks begin on a coalition agreement between ODM and President William Ruto's UDA party. Led by Governor Paul Otuoma, the leaders emphasized that joining the coalition talks is not meant to weaken ODM, but rather to strengthen the party's position in government and bring more development to Western Kenya. They also assured that unity within ODM remains intact and members should not be worried, adding that the interest of Busia residents will be a priority in the negotiations.
So katika hapa mkoa wa Magharibi sisi tunataka kuunda ile team kwa sababu tayari mliona UDA waliunda team ambayo inaongozwa na Ken Lusaka. Pia upande ya ODM na wale ambao tunashirikiana nao pia sisi tunataka tuunde team strong sana. Ndio tukienda sasa kuweka nguvu zetu zote pamoja, tunapata kwamba mkoa wa Magharibi itaheshimiwa kwa ile kura ambayo sisi tunasema tunataka kupeleka pale kwa ile broad based government. Hiyo ndio lengo letu kubwa. Hatutaki kutapata. Tunasema kwamba pia kama hapa Busia tumekubaliana kwamba sisi tutaendelea kuwa kwa broad based na wale wako hapa tumekubaliana, na pia wamesema tukitoka hapa tutaenda kuzungumza na wabunge wetu, the elected members of parliament, ili tuweze pia kuwaeleza vile tumezungumza hapa in a broad based manner. Kutakuwa na wa ODM, kutakuwa na wa UDA na wale wote ambao wana support kwamba tuendelee kuwa na mazungumzo.
Kama kiongozi wa wengi katika bunge la Busia na kwa niaba ya broad based, nataka kusema ya kwamba heko kwa kamati yetu ya Central Committee ya ODM, tunataka kushukuru sana mkutano ambao mlikuwa nao na ni mkutano wa bora. Nataka kusema ya kwamba sisi kama viongozi wa Busia tunamuunga mkono 100%, na tunataka kuhimiza viongozi wote hapa Busia na Western Region tuweze kuungana pamoja, tuweze kuunga broad-based government ili tuweze kuwafikia malengo yetu.
And several individuals involved in drug trafficking in the Ufa Valley region, including 4 Burundian nationals, have been arrested as police continue investigations to uncover the full network behind the illegal trade. Police in the Ufa Valley, under the leadership of Commander Samuel Ndati, know that Pokot, Western Turkana counties are at risk due to the proximity to the neighboring country. The Commander Ndati urged residents to cooperate with security agencies by reporting any illegal activities they witness in order to strengthen the fight against drugs and protect community safety.
Huu tukianzia upande Turkana inapakana na nchi jirani kama za Ethiopia, za Sudan, na tunashuku kuwa kuna vitu kadhaa ambazo zinaweza kuwa zinatoka katika nchi jirani, na ndio tuone vile tunaweza shirikiana officers ambao katika katika along the corridor kutoka Turkana kuja West Pokot kwenda kuelekea Trans Nzoia, vile tunaweza shirikiana katika ile hali ya kupashana, kupeana report so that ndio to deal na vitu na hizo vitu ambazo nimetaja, hizo pombe haramu na miadarati. Lakini pombe haramu ni iko ndani kwetu, miadarati inaweza kuwa ndani kwetu, lakini zingine tunasuspect kwa zinaweza kuwa zinatoka.
3 pupils who completed Standard 8 at Mopeli Primary School in Bugoma and were called to join C1 schools for grade 10 have been forced to repeat Standard 8 due to inability to pay school fees. And according to the school aid teacher Evelyn Humbaya, it was surprising to see the students returning to repeat Standard 8 despite having qualified to join grade 10. The students Chanel Wakoli, Melissa Sheroya and Faizin Simiyu, who scored 59, 64 and 62 marks respectively, expressed concern that their dreams of progressing to secondary school may be delayed due to the lack of fees.
They are not seeing any hope of joining any senior school. They are supposed to join a Cardinal Otunga Senior School, that is the Cluster 1 school.
Niliitwa shule St. Peter's Mumias Boys High School, but kwa sai mzazi hajiwezi. Naishi na mamangu. Babangu alitoka last year, hadi leo mimi sijaimwona kwa maisha yangu. Ndio maana nilikuwa naomba kama kuna mtu yote ako na msaada akaweza tu kunisaidia.
Venye tunaishi sisi peke yetu na yeye ndio mama, yeye ndio baba, yeye ndio kila kitu. Hata hatuwezi, yani sometimes hawezi kutusaidia, chakula ni shida, anafanya kazi ngumu ndio atulipe school fees, na mimi nimeitwa Cardinal na sioni kama anaweza kunisaidia.
As parents across the country celebrate good academic results by their children, the situation is different at Chem Quarter Primary and Secondary School in Ilmoitok Ward, Narok West. The angry parents today staged demonstrations forced the closure of the school to protest poor academic performance and what they described as mismanagement of the institution. The parents now want the Education Ministry to intervene and make changes at the school if they will not allow the children back to school.
Kwa hapa tumekuja maandamano dhidi ya unyanyasaji au unyanyapaa ambayo inafanyika hasa shule ya primary. Kuna nyanyapaa kubwa sana. Hasa kuhusiana na mambo ya fedha. Kila mwaka kujao kuna ongezeko la fedha. Si ya mwalimu, si ya nini. Hata juzi kuna mzazi, hasa jana, kuna mzazi alikuja kuleta mtoto wake kutoka shule nyingine. Pindi alipofika hapa akaambiwa kuna pesa za maendeleo 1,500.
Hiyo ni corruption.
Hiyo ni ufisadi.
Tumekuja leo maandamano ya kwanza, tujai kufanya maandamano hapa. Tumesikia uchungu kwa hii shule. Watoto wa sekondari hakuna hawezi kupita kwa hii shule. Sijui ni kwa sababu gani. Kuna sekondari ilijengwa hapa juzi lakini ati wamekuwa namba 1. Wamekuwa namba 1 na hii shule inaitwa mama ya shule. Sasa mama ya shule inakuja ile mtoto huko chini inakuja kurudisha mama ya shule iende nyuma kwa nini? Na tuko na walimu. Ile kitu inaendelea hapa ni corruption mtupu.
And the biggest story tonight and today is the general elections in Uganda, and the process of counting the votes is taking place, and we're waiting to see that the end of it will be coming in come Saturday, just a day from today. And what we do here from Kenya is that we're wishing all the best to the best for the best of the Ugandans and for everyone who made this success. My name is Jeffrey Kimaiyu Somba. From the Sign Language Interpretation Desk is Laura Omonti, and we're all wishing you a good night.